I think the most important moment was actually becoming friends with people I didn't know, both Catholics who were concerned with this issue, but I knew a lot of them, but the Jewish folk who were present. And that's kind of the most important bit, because even if we disagree, even if we have different opinions, once you establish some kind of friendship, there's a conversation that keeps going. And I think also an admiration for a view that before you may not have entertained. I think for me, this is the one question that Jews, after all the conversations and dialogues that have happened, feel, why will the Catholic Church not address this question? If they take us seriously, this is our homeland, this is where we are finally safe, maybe not, but it is where Jews suddenly are the majority and feel safe. And they want to know what the Church thinks, partly because they do want the support of the Roman Catholic Church, but partly because they want to know what the meaning of what Catholics are saying when they say the Jewish covenant is irrevocable, God does not go back on his promises. For them, one of the central promises after the creation of the peoplehood is the land. And therefore they want to know, okay, you're saying with St. Paul, God does not go back on his promises. What does this mean for you as Catholics? So I feel this conference was one of the first, I think, ever where Jews and Catholics have come together and openly discussed this, because it's been very painful, full of, I think, bitterness and difficulty. And of course, it's very complicated because of the Palestinian presence. Palestinians are both Christians and Muslims, and I rarely have heard discussions between Jews and Palestinians, be they Christian or Muslim, which aren't fueled with the pain and tragedy of that situation. So I think to be able to come together and talk about it was, one of the delegates said it was a miracle, and it was that. It was a really good breakthrough of God's work. Well, interestingly for this particular conference, the next step for me is trying to get Muslims involved and have Jews, Muslims and Catholics talking about the land. But I think there are many steps to be taken, because while the Church has constantly thought the covenant is irrevocable, the gifts and the promises made to the Jewish people are irrevocable, we are still in the really early days of knowing what that means about how we as Catholics can actually learn deeply from the Jewish people, from their practices, from their reading of scripture, even though it's filtered through a totally different tradition, the rabbinic tradition, the values and forms of life that they have. So there are very many big questions which just we're only beginning to touch. The Council were some 60 years now, and that's very little for Catholic history. And we have gone so fantastically fast. In some countries, very fast, like the United States. In other countries, it's hardly an issue. Certain parts of Africa, they don't know why there's such a big deal about it. Partly because they have a different history in terms of the Jews, South America, Europe, etc. And your own community in Poland have its particular historical story. So I think the next steps are coming together and deciding what are the issues that we find difficult to talk about. For me, besides the land, the question of mission is the other one that we can't speak about without too much anger, pain and horror, because for so many Jews, mission meant the eradication of their Jewish identity. Abraham Heschel's famous quotation, I would rather go back to Auschwitz than become a Catholic. I think that needs to be dealt with to become more mature as friends. So that's for me the next step after the land.